Hey everybody, welcome back for another Friday Love and Learn. So excited, I always look forward to this each and every week. And I'm super grateful to Don Ferreyra of ESU 3, Eileen Barks of ESU 2, and Nick Ziegler of ESU 5 for joining us. And if you saw everyone kind of giggle a little bit whenever I said Don's name, it's because we're working on the pronunciation of the last name prior to getting on here.
You did great, Andrew. Yay.
Oh, thank you. I thought, all right. I get like self-conscious about that because Nick, with his background in Spanish, pronounces it so beautifully that I feel like my Southern Illinoisness comes up and I just botch it. So Nick, give us that sweet.
No, wait a second. You're gonna ask me to do it. I'll do my best, and then let's let Don follow up. Okay, so Don Ferreyra.
Yes. Say that.
Love that. That is not how I sounded. But I am so grateful to everybody for joining us. And I'm just going to speak for myself and say that this was like a long week. A lot of great things. It went fast, but I'm kind of exhausted coming in for a landing here on a Friday. So I hope, I'm really grateful for this chance for us to check in. And just get some good vibes and connect with folks. And so thanks to the three of you for joining us. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and invite people, right, to share in the chat, if you would, in the comments box. What's up, Jen? To just kind of share your love and your learning as we go through your comments. We love bringing those in. And so let's just kind of get started with that. Then we're going to open with our, drum roll please, love for the week. And so what was the thing that you loved over the course of this week? Dawn, we'll start with you.
So here at ESU 3, we have an EMO lab, which is emerging technologies, makerspace kind of space. And I love the ability to work in there because I think a couple things. I think it's really engaging for kids. And so we're thinking of ways to get makerspace out into the community, even when we can't get kids into our space. So we've been developing some take-home kits or take-to-school kits that teachers can check out, which I love. And I also love that now Derek Gangwish from ESU 3 and I are both working in there and sharing the space as directors. And I just think it's important for women to have a place with CTE and showing that it's not a male-dominated field and that we can craft and make and fabricate just as well as anybody else. So I love being able to spend some time in there and really dig into projects and get things thinking about how this can apply in schools.
I love that. That's awesome. I want to come over and play and team.
I've got two daughters, a 14-year-old and an 11-year-old, and I completely agree. They need to see females in those positions, leading those things. They need to be able to envision themselves. And so that's a male talking, but I completely agree. I think that's awesome.
That is fabulous. So my love for the week is that I was able to get back into classrooms with leaders. We do leadership learning walks at ESU2, and COVID kind of led us a little bit of a stray over October, November, December. We really couldn't get into schools, but we started them again this year. And leadership learning walks are where you take a cohort of leaders, administrators, and you go to each other's schools and you watch teachers in each other's schools to help solve problems of practice. And we were at Lions Decatur. I got to see the Teacher of the Year, which is awesome. Paul Tim is amazing. Shout out to Lions Decatur. But I just loved being back in the schools. It was amazing. It filled my heart.
That's real similar to mine, Eileen. And so we've been since Thanksgiving-ish on an AB schedule here at ESU5, but we came back on Monday full time now. So except that on Wednesday, I was in Thayer Central, one of our school districts. So I love that. I love the opportunity to get out into the school districts and work with kids, work with teachers, work with administrators. That's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so true. And well, I'll personally say I've had a kind of a tough time this week picking out my love, and I think it's just because there's a lot of like fun things going on, so it's hard to maybe commit to one. I absolutely loved the Monday motivation, starting that off. Heather Phipps rocked it. Jen McNally rocked it.
You're great, Jen. We love you.
It's true.
It's not a Friday Love and Learn if we're not giving a shout out to Jen McNally.
That's right.
So that's been really good. And then I connected with two of my colleagues in personalized learning out of Minnesota for a conversation that was on the podcast. That was just terrific. They're sisters. They're so fun. They're just great educators. And so that was really kind of like filled my bucket. I got back to some of the BFT stuff, and we went from like 110 virtual field trips. There's 130 in there plus now, and I'm still trying to just keep up with loading those things. So that's been great. Digital citizenship. We got our first, Nick shared that this morning. Go ahead.
That's right. And so the Digital Citizenship Symposium that our ESU Coordinating Council, ESUs across the state, it's up and running. We have the content from grades pre-K all the way through 12th grade. You go through for 7th through 12th, you can obtain a certificate of completion for 3 different modules. We had Karen Hazy come in and give some great content, followed up by some processing practice ideas. So we awarded our first certificate of completion yesterday. And so awesome. Check it out. ESU CC Digital Citizenship Symposium.
Yeah, so that's going on. I like ran into Dawn while she was in the space she's talking about, and got to see these really amazing kits that she's putting together.
What? You guys have seen each other in person?
I don't just live in the box. It's crazy. I feel like that I do most of the time, just live here. But yeah, but the kits are amazing. I might give you a second, Dawn, even to share about that. But I have a daughter who's in 4th grade, and so I was like, Dawn, let's find a way to make sure that the great things you're doing end up in my daughter's class. That would be super cool. So, do you want to talk about that a little bit too, like kind of the all that goes into that kit that you've put together?
Yeah, so we have a couple ready so far, and they were modeled pretty much after. We have the Giganto maps across the different ESUs, and they're giant floor maps that teachers can check out and use. And there's been a lot of great activities and lessons developed for the use of those maps. And we want to take it a little bit further to ensure that things get used more, that people get excited and updated. And so with that kit, even we have 3D printed Nebraska landmarks that can be put across Nebraska on that giant map. And then using some of our tech robots, the little dash and dots. So the dashes can drive and students can program using coding and drive to the different places in Nebraska and write up little speeches and do recordings on them when they get to those places and find others. We also have some rocks. So we used to have these science rock kits that we go out, and they haven't been used for quite a while. And with the standards changing, we've redesigned those rock kits to make them COVID friendly. And that's a big part of this too, is how do you make individual things that can be sanitized easily and safe for use. And so developing individual rock kits that students can sort. And then we have digital lesson plans, and then they're attached back to STEAM education. And so they'll have standards for social studies, because they're going to be the 4th grade rocks that we find in Nebraska, rocks and minerals. Mm-hmm. They go back to our science standards, and they go back into the arts standards too. So there's an arts connection. So with every kit we're doing is we're trying to take multiple content areas along with STEAM processes and put them all together. So the next one that is soon to be, I'm developing the lesson plans now for it. It's a very cool map kit. And we've 3D printed Nebraska elevation maps, so they can really see that Nebraska isn't completely flat. There is elevation across Nebraska. And so we have individual student 3D maps. We have wood cut road maps. We have used our Cricut to develop county maps that can be used with a white pen and some projects to be a little bit more creative with our standards.
That's awesome. That sounds amazing.
It's a lot of fun.
Gosh. I took a little lap because I only live in Zoom. We've already established this, and so I walked in and I was like, "What's in here?" And I'm just sort of like looking at all this cool stuff that Dawn's doing, and so that was really fun. And I want to share that Otis was agreeing with your earlier point. Jen appreciating the work that you're doing, absolutely, and had some feedback from Deb too. Shout outs to Deb. Monday motivation really did fill my bucket from the start of the week. And believe it or not, there you go. There you go.
It was great. I get excited about that. I see a lot of potential, and we're starting small and really focusing on what are some standards teachers really are addressing, and how do we make it just interactive and different. So excited about that.
Awesome. And incorporating those emerging tech tools, right? Awesome.
Love that.
Gets me excited. That's why we do this.
That's right.
There's so much great work that goes on. We're 4 stories in the midst of an entire network of great work. And so it's just, it's so cool. So cool seeing it all. So that said, we're going to transition now to the learn from this past week. Really tough sometimes to discern the difference between the love and the learn for so many of us who love learning. But Dawn, what was something you picked up this week?
Well, that is a great point, because that's one thing I love about being at the ESU. We're constantly learning. There's always something new, a new project, a new approach, a new tool that we're learning about. So beyond just collaborating with my colleagues and learning daily from them here at ESU, because I work with brilliant people. I've been working, once again, I'm talking about Makerspace a lot, but utilizing our Adobe suite for design and how it can combine with the laser cutters that we have and the CNC machines. And so I've been learning a lot more about the Adobe products and how it fits into fabrication.
Great.
That's awesome. So my learn this week is a little bit more abstract. It's not so much of a concrete learning. I love the fact that we get to do a lot of learning, but kind of learned and relearned a few things. We had a mental health booster on Wednesday, and I already said that I did some leadership learning walks, one on Monday and one yesterday. And I think what I learned is that there's a lot of stuff going on, right? We all know that COVID is heavy. We know that, but our administrators are not only doing their job, but they're also doing the job of, they're like taking on all of the pressure of the teachers and all of the pressure of the families and all of the pressure of the parents. And they're it's on their shoulders, right? And so I've learned that we have to use some of the mental health strategies that we have acquired over the last year and help our administrators prioritize, because all of the stuff is up here and they want to keep it up in this high quality. And at some point we've got to allow for something to get off of our plate. And so I guess I learned a little bit about relearned how to help administrators prioritize what it is that they're doing. I didn't mean to bring us down, but that is really the reality that our administrators are dealing with. And the fact that they let us come into their school and watch different classrooms in the midst of a pandemic shows how much they care about their own learning and the learning of their staff. So that's my learn for the week.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
It's so good.
Excellent. Mine is a little bit more in the Dawn category of more concrete. Google Data Studio.
Ooh, I love that.
It's a great tool. Difficulty. So what is it, right? It allows you to create an interactive display of data from a Google Sheet in a nutshell. A difficulty, though, it doesn't do comma separated values. So if you ask a checkbox question on a Google form, you get, if somebody picks more than one response, you've got now a string of text. So how can we then get that? I hesitate to share how much time I spent yesterday, but I went home. I'll say it this way. I went home for lunch pretty darn frustrated that I had already spent some time before lunch and hadn't, but I got it. It was 3:30 when I was done, but I got it. And so I now can, if you have questions, Google Data Studio, comma separated value, let me know. Don't spend 6 hours trying to figure it out. So awesome. I learned. It was love and to learn, a little bit of frustration, but that's the process of learning, right?
I am writing this down. Google Data Studio, ask Nick.
I'll ask Matt Huseman out of ESU 6. He is the true expert among us. Peg Coover out of ESU 10 has been doing some great stuff as well. But yes, reach out.
Mm-hmm. Deb, definitely feeling your pain. As well.
I've seen some of the work that Deb's done. She's done some great work inside of Google Data Studio. So good on you. Kudos to everybody. It takes, I think Matt Huseman out of ESU 6 led a session like 3 years ago. It was titled Google Data Studio. It's not for everyone.
Right. He did a NITA one too, a half day at NITA, and I loved it. And I learned a lot, and I just haven't used it. I need to use it again. I love it.
And I think you also learned something else. Sometimes it's important to walk away and then come back.
And it was over lunch. I'm just racking my brain trying to figure. Okay, I went through like 7 or 8 different possible solutions, and it was over lunch, Don. You're right. It was over lunch. All right, I'm just going to do it this way, and we got it.
Oh, fun. I'm going to bring in some more comments here too. And this kind of circles back to Eileen. That taking care of ourselves is important. First and foremost, if we're going to be able to take care of others.
Have to. Absolutely. We have to.
Definitely there with the administrators as well. And I personally would kind of circle back to Eileen, where mine's probably a little less concrete and more, I don't know, I had that reflection before we jumped on, is that learning sometimes I think checks a box, like if you're talking about just kind of that knowledge level, and then there's other times where you're sort of growing in your knowledge of something, and that can feel linear, I think, sometimes. For me, I as a former English teacher, really appreciate, I used to tell my students this, is that sometimes I just have like this map of a topic, and I don't necessarily need to extend anything, but I just would like to add more pieces on my map. And that was really my learn this week. Is I yesterday actually attended the Book Bites lunch discussion, having not read, so I just need to say this up front. I read like a summary and was grateful that Shirley Vargas and Lane Carr and that group welcomed me in as they're going through how to be an anti-racist. And there was, I'll say this with my map here, there were maybe 20 or so folks in there who all represented a lot of different viewpoints and came from different experiences. And it was such a open conversation. It was such a, we trusted each other enough to be able to just kind of be forthright with what we knew and what we were ignorant of and what we were nervous to say, I think, or explore. And I don't want to speak for the group because but I learned a lot just from that dialogue that was great to kind of help build out my thinking around that topic. And I certainly am grateful to both Lane and Shirley as leaders with that, and also to everyone that shared. And it just was a really thought-provoking session that meant a lot.
That sounds, I missed it yesterday. I really wanted to be there, but I was at a school doing leadership learning walks. So
loving something else, right?
That's right.
So I think the moral of that story is there's a lot to love and learn over the course of our week always. And that's why we take the time, on a weekly basis to reflect in this format and just share some of that out. And I really appreciate that. So any parting words from anybody?
Have a great weekend.
Yeah.
Friday!
It is Friday, and so certainly enjoy it. Thanks to Nick, Don, Eileen for joining us, and we will see everybody. There is not a Monday motivation this Monday. It's every other week. So we'll see everybody live again a week from today for the next Friday's Love and Learn. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.